Hello and welcome back to the Demons Within podcast, episode 3 of season 2, which is really just season 1 after a little break because I had stuff to do. The job's got stuff to do. But we're back. We're back. Me, Jobby the Elf, is back again, like always, just nonstop talking from him. Can't shut him up. Can't shut him up. But yeah, welcome back. Excited to be here. This is the 3rd episode of season 2, as I just said, which is what I just said. So today we are going to be talking about building new habits. And everybody's got bad habits. Everybody had some unpleasant habits at some time in their life, and most people do all the time. I still have bad habits. But yeah, so that's what we'll be talking about today. Demons Within, the book. It's out now. We're making a lot of headway with publishers and literary agents. I'm going to just keep saying that. It's almost like I'm trying to jinx it, but it's a good book. So if the content is good, the content will succeed. That's just a fact. It might take some hard work, but we're getting very positive feedback from everybody who's read it. We're getting very positive feedback and moving on to further stages with literary agents. There's a lot of talks going on behind the scenes. But besides that, besides that though, what's new, Jobby? Anything new in the world of Jobby the Elf? Anybody give you clothes so you're a free elf? Didn't think so. Did not think so. So what's new in the life of Gregor Lee Millerly? Well, Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving was a couple days ago. And I have so much to give thanks for. I'm so grateful to just be alive. I'm grateful every morning for waking up. I'm grateful to have had this second chance at life, this new lease on life, to live life with the purpose that I was born to live with. It's just, I'm just so grateful for it. I'm full. I'm bloated. The bathroom this morning was just an absolute war zone. It was just a disaster. It was Pompeii. It was Pompeii all over again, but instead of, well, you get the idea. You get the idea. So I think I'll leave it at that. What else is going on though? There's really not much going on because all I'm doing is working. I'm working, I'm writing, I'm editing, I'm taking meetings, I'm on calls, I'm helping out the job with things. Not Jobby the Elf. He needs no help. He's a really self-serving, and he's a Renaissance man. I mean, look at him. Look at him. He does not have a Napoleon complex or anything, and he's like 1 foot tall. He's 1'2". Just a little guy living in a big world. But that's kind of what's going on. A lot of talk about the glasses. A lot of talk. A lot of hate, to be completely honest. A lot of hate. They're like, you're inside. Why are you wearing glasses? Even the job, the real job, not Jobby the Elf. He's even like, when you wear glasses, it's like you got something to hide. I don't have anything to hide. I mean, have you seen season 1 of the podcast? If somebody just met me and the only pretense they had to go off of about who I am as a person is season 1, they'd be like, wow, this guy, piece of shit. This guy's a piece of shit. But that's what we do here. We're open, we're honest, we're vulnerable. Because that's what you have to do in life sometimes, especially for the purpose and what my objective here is to show people that we all make mistakes and that there's a way out of the madness. There's a way out of the madness one day at a time. You just got to keep moving forward. You got to be persistent. In last week's episode, I talked about persistence, and that's what it's about. Moving forward. It's when you fall, you get back up. You stand back up with your chest held high, with your chin held high, and you just go at it. You get after it every day. Every single day, you got to get after it. You got bad days, you got good days. The good days, be grateful for them. Thanksgiving, a couple days ago. I'm grateful for every good day I have. And when I have a bad day, when I have a day that it's like, how do I do the things I want to do today because I'm just kind of feeling like crap? It's like, just take that first step. Because as I often say, and as many people say who are in recovery or have dealt with mental illness, sometimes that first step, even if it's a baby step, it turns out to be the biggest step you ever took in your life. And it's just crucial. Open the curtains and start your day. Let's just get right into the news here. The first story I have is very concerning to me. According to this study, adults with attention deficit hyperactive disorder, aka ADHD, are nearly 3 times more likely to develop dementia than adults without ADHD. And this study was done at Rutgers University, who, I don't know, they just lost to Ohio State. That's really all I know in football. That's all I know about Rutgers. But it's concerning for me because I have ADHD. I have adult ADHD. and I have dementia that runs in the family. So it's kind of like the chicken and the egg. Maybe the ADHD runs in the family, which caused the dementia that runs in the family, or maybe it's just whatever. That it's just concerning because I got both of those things. Whatever, if I start to just become demented, what I'll probably do, and I'm not actually joking about this. I don't want to make light of this because dementia is one of the most cruel, and it's so bad. It's so bad. It's so hard to watch. It's just one of the most painful things to experience when one of your loved ones is going through dementia. But if I ever really did get it, I would probably, if I got diagnosed with it, I would probably take 6 to 8 months to do every single thing on my bucket list, I believe they say, Morgan Freeman movie, on my bucket list. And then I would ask someone to kill me because that's how bad it is. Now I'm hoping it doesn't get to that point. I'm hoping that there's more awareness, which I know there is. I've done the Alzheimer walk many times. My parents are heavily involved in it. My family. I'm hoping there's some breakthroughs with that because it's just such a terrible thing. You're watching somebody just deteriorate mentally who you love to the point where they don't even know how to eat food anymore. And then, they pass away. So it's sad stuff. So the way this study worked is that from 2003 to 2020, so you're talking 17 years, the researchers followed 100,000 people. And they analyzed the people who had ADHD and the ones who did not have ADHD. And they just found the occurrence of dementia in those with ADHD was much higher. So, it was a thorough study. I don't think anybody can argue with that. A 17-year study with 6 figures worth of subjects. It's very comprehensive. But I guess they're saying, too, that the ADHD treatment that incorporates psychostimulants may help reduce the risk of dementia, which, again, doesn't bode well for me because I don't take the stimulants. That's not my treatment. My treatment is different, but it works, and that's all I care about. So this is sort of one of those reminders, too, about the Stoic saying memento mori, which basically means we only have one life, and we could die at any moment, so take advantage of the time you do have here. And that's kind of the way I frame everything in my life these days. So yeah, it's disconcerting, but I'm glad they're actually putting research into it because I know for a fact that something like 3% of the adult population has ADHD. And there's just very little research into it. Even the DSM manual, it only talks about the diagnostic criteria for ADHD being like the attentive issues, the attention issues, and the disorganization. But they have no official diagnostic criteria that deals with emotional dysregulation, rejection sensitivity dysphoria, impulse control, stuff like that, which is, in my opinion, for some people, especially me, was the most debilitating stuff. I'm good at keeping organized. I have to take measures to do it, but I do it. I'm on time. I'm an on-time guy. So yeah, I guess it's kind of bittersweet. It's like I'm glad the research is out there, so we can probably take measures to mitigate the situation, but it's also disconcerting because I have a hand in both buckets. Hand elbow deep in both of those buckets, so I'm fucked. Kidding. So I have another piece of news here, and this one, it's from Massachusetts General Hospital, and they're saying that heated yoga may reduce depression symptoms according to a recent clinical trial. So my thing is, who the hell calls it heated yoga? It's hot yoga. Calling it heated yoga, I go to yoga, I do yoga when I'm already heated because I got to clear the mind and I got to come back down to earth and I got to get in touch with my mind, body, and spirit, and I have to stop being so heated. So calling it heated yoga is just stupid. So already I think that this article is invalidated. But on the other side of that, if they just called it hot yoga, I would read it. But I guess what they said is in a randomized controlled clinical trial of adults with moderate to severe depression, those who participated in heated yoga sessions experienced significantly greater reductions in depressive symptoms compared with a control group. So to me, I think this is sort of obvious in the sense that yoga is good for you. It's good for your body. It's good for your mind. And it's hard. That's another thing I didn't realize. The first time I did yoga, I was going into it thinking I'd be the best yoga guy in town because I'm strong and I work out and all this. But no, not the case. Not the case. I was doing trees and I couldn't stand up straight. I was doing the crow thing and it was again, couldn't stand up straight. It was all about, I just could never stand up straight. That was my first yoga session was falling. So it should have just been, and it wasn't hot yoga, it was falling yoga because I just learned how to fall. But I did keep doing it. I kept at it. And I actually, after a few weeks, I did get a free headstand, which was pretty cool. Freestanding headstand. And then I sort of just stopped going because I got super busy. But that is something I would absolutely like to start doing again. How about you, D? How about you, DB? You look like you'd be good at yoga. You're really not that flexible, though. You're not limber. You're a stand-up guy, literally. Okay, so let's get into the topic of the day, which is how to build new habits and how to break bad habits. So any person either has or has had unpleasant habits to some degree. Some people try to get rid of them. Others manage to accustom themselves to a full life without these bad habits. But some people don't even think about them. They don't even think about getting rid of them. They're so ingrained in their life. But the truth is, bad habits, they do have a negative impact on your health. And these bad habits could range anywhere from looking at your phone too much, watching too much TV, being lazy, or the real serious ones like alcoholism, cocaine, drugs, any of that stuff, gambling. It's all under the umbrella of bad habits. So the thing about habits too, and bad habits in particular, it sort of includes both the ones that are actually harmful to your health, your physical health, and then the ones that sort of prevent you from using the full abilities that you've been given in your life. The most dangerous habits are the ones obtained at sort of an immature age, a relatively young age. And to get rid of it, a person is almost not capable of by the time they're adults, on their own at least. It's like they need to get help because they're just so ingrained in their lifestyle. And these habits cause considerable damage to not just the person, but to human existence in general. Loss of motivation, loss of potential, premature aging of the body, the acquisition of diseases, all sorts of diseases. Look at this: smoking, lung cancer, alcohol, liver cirrhosis, all sorts of stuff. Cocaine, septum, gone, deviated. And then, like I said, like these habits, the ones I'm talking about with the serious implications, that is like the alcoholism, the drugs, the gambling, so you lose all your finances. But there are less dangerous but still unhealthy habits, and that's like these crash diets, even consumption of sugary foods over and over that cause obesity, not getting enough sleep. There's undisciplined sex life, which promotes STDs, and then everything. So bad habits are clearly a problem. Currently, my worst habit is probably going to sleep. It's a bad habit. It's not disastrous. I feel like people are going to roll their eyes when I talk about this habit. But the worst habit I have now is that I fall asleep to podcasts. And the podcasts are generally a true crime podcast. And the podcast probably wakes me up all night, so I don't get as restful sleep as I should. And it also probably feeds me nightmares because it's about like serial killers. It's about the Golden State Killer and Ted Bundy and all that shit. So it's probably terrible for me. But I also, in this, again, I don't want to just blame things on an ADHD diagnosis, but it also helps me fall asleep. So I got to figure that out. I have to break that habit because just going to sleep with nothing on, maybe a white noise in the background, maybe a fan on, I feel like that would be beneficial to me and to my health. So that's something I'll have to look into. So changing bad habits is very hard. It takes time. It takes time because you almost have to rewire your brain. You have to rewire the neuroplasticity in your brain, and you have to just internalize these things till it just becomes a no-brainer. So the new healthy habit that replaces the old bad habit just becomes a part of your life without even thinking about it. And that's kind of the thing. So when you start realizing you have bad habits that you want to change, the thing you have to do is take action, obviously. So you take that time to deliberate the issue, but when the time for action arrives, stop thinking and just go in, get after it. That's the number one thing about change is you just have to make the change. Change starts in our minds, but then you have to go in and take action. So I heard this story, the psychologist did a study about change and how it's not easy to change when you become accustomed to something. So what they did, they had a goldfish tank and they divided the tank with a clear piece of glass. So the goldfish on the one side, they just kept hitting their head on the glass because you couldn't see it. So they did that over and over again, and they were essentially conditioned that glass was there. So when they took the glass out, the goldfish were too scared of change. They never went over to the other side. So even when the other side was clearly better for them, there was food over there and a bunch of other crap that would be beneficial to this goldfish's short life, they still just wouldn't go because they were so accustomed to the hitting their face on the glass. And that sort of paints a picture of how difficult it is to change when we're set in our ways or when we're conditioned by our past, when we've dealt with trauma, when we've dealt with anything. It's hard to break those chains and get after it. But that's why the first step is to just take that step. That's the first step. And a lot of times, another barrier to change is negative self-talk. It's like the inner roommate that I talked about in episode 1. It's having no routine. Psychologists posit that we mostly hold on to beliefs because there's some type of payoff. So we hold on to these bad habits because there's a payoff in our minds. It's like, why do we overeat? Why do we not stop eating Doritos and cake and cookies? Well, because it tastes good and it feels good and we get a sugar rush or whatever it is. It covers something up. So that's the payoff. It's the same with alcoholism. I mean, what's the payoff is that it numbs your feelings. It's a symptom of the disease is drinking. It's you're self-medicating. But I mean, is that payoff worth it? No, it's not. So you got to change the habit. I mean, the truth is we would never willfully hold on to unhappiness or negative emotions if we actually had a choice. But sometimes that choice is almost impossible to make because you're so ingrained in bad habits. So a lot of these beliefs that oppose us to changing our bad habits, they're just rationalizations, judgments, or unhealthy coping skills. Like I just said about drinking alcohol to cover up your social anxiety, to cover up your depression, to cover up your low self-esteem, to cover up your jealousy, to cover up to cover up all the stuff that you just don't want to deal with and face. And a lot of times we don't even recognize the beliefs that we're holding on to. We just know it makes us feel good. In the short term, obviously. It's that instant gratification. It's that thing that is the most prevalent type of gratification in the world of alcoholism, drug addiction, mental illness, or just, being a lazy bum. So this obviously leads to disastrous results when you're holding on to these things, these beliefs that just make us feel good. And it blinds us to the possibility that maybe the other side feels even better. So then we don't try something new. We don't put in the work to break the habits. So this is all the stuff that's in the mind. So I'm not saying that changing your mind will change your life. It won't really do that. But it allows you to change the choices that you make and the thoughts that keep you trapped in these bad habits. So that, by changing your mind, can lead to changing your life. And the other thing that prevents people from making changes and changing their bad habits is they often are playing the victim card. They're the victim mentality and they're blaming other people. Oh, I'm overeating today because so-and-so annoyed me, so I just want to eat. So-and-so made fun of me, so I just want to eat. It's like my boss is giving me a hard time. I want to drink. My girlfriend cheated on me. I want to drink and do drugs. It's the list goes on and on. Those are the most generic examples in the history of examples, but you get the point. You blame your upbringing because if you're following along, that's out of your control, but it doesn't mean you can blame it for your bad habits. So stop blaming luck, stop blaming other people, stop pointing to outside influences or circumstances, and stop blaming your childhood or your neighborhood or your upbringing. Blaming is the world's greatest excuse. And if you've read my novel Demons Within, Bill Dillard realizes at some point in his journey that the first step out of blame is to see that we're choosing to blame. No matter how justified the circumstances appear to be, when you see that you're choosing to blame as opposed to having to blame, it'll soon be internalized that blaming others or ourselves for anything is just not necessary. It's like, why does something always have to be somebody else's fault? Why does someone always have to be right? Why does somebody have to be wrong? Why was the whole concept of wrong even needed in the first place when it comes to these things? It's like, no matter the situation, the reality is that what seemed like a good idea at one time just didn't turn out well. It just didn't turn out well. And that's it. Unfortunate, bad things, they always happen, and we have to accept that as a part of life. Accepting hardships, it's a pathway to peace, not blaming others. And accepting hardships and accepting responsibility for your own actions is the first way to get out of these bad habits that you've built up to cope with whatever it is you're coping with. So that's sort of everything in a nutshell. What do you think about that nutshell? Jobby. Asshole. So I'm just going to go over a few tips to break bad habits. I actually got these from this woman, Shannon, who works up at ACCA. She's fighting the good fight against people who have alcohol use disorder, substance abuse disorder, all that stuff. She's an amazing human being. She's awesome. So the first thing on my list here, says differentiate between goals and habits. Goals are outcomes, such as getting healthy. Habits are the actions you take to achieve a goal, like eating vegetables with each meal and exercising every day. So that's a good point, because a lot of times it's like, all right, being obese is not a bad habit. Being obese is just like the state you're in because of your bad habits. So getting healthy is not a change or a habit. It's just the goal that is the outcome of you changing your bad habits into good habits. So that's the first thing. You got to frame your mind that way. You want to have the goal set, but you got to start small, and you got to put together whatever type of program you're developing to get these habits changed to good habits to lead to that ultimate goal. It's like with drinking. If you're an alcoholic, it's not like, all right, well, I'm just never going to drink again. That doesn't work if you're a legitimate alcoholic. You have to take the steps, literal steps, if you go the AA route. And those are the habits. That's where you build the good habits that lead to the ultimate goal, which is a positive goal. So the next one is to start with small changes. Make incremental changes towards the behavior you want and work your way up from there. If you improve at something only 1% every week, the changes that accumulate over months or years is massive. So that's another thing. It pretty much goes in line with what I just said about taking small steps to build whatever treatment, I don't know, treatment's probably a bad word, but whatever system you're implementing to break your habits, take small steps. You know, if my math is correct, 1% plus times 52 is 52%. So that's with a week. And that sort of goes in line with the whole thing of, you know, try to just get better every day. Just try to get better every day. It doesn't have to be big. You know, if you can improve in some way in any area of your life, at least on a consistent basis, it doesn't have to be every day, then you're on the right track to breaking your bad habits. The next thing is to update your environment. Make changes that encourage your new habit and discourage unwanted habits. If you like to eat healthier, keep a bowl of fruit on the counter. So yeah, that one makes a lot of sense too. I can keep relating things to alcoholism. It's like if you're entering recovery, if you're starting this journey of recovery, you're not going to be going on bar crawls and hanging out with all your friends who drink all the time. At some point, you can become confident enough and secure enough in your recovery and your sobriety that you can probably hang out with your friends while they're drinking. But especially at the beginning, when you're in the infancy of changing these bad habits, you kind of want to avoid stuff. And it's also like if you're trying to lose weight, don't keep a bunch of snacks in the house, you know? Don't have the Schwann's man come and drop off a bunch of cake pies. You don't want to do that. Nobody on here probably knows what I'm talking about when I say the Schwann's man, but it's a thing. It's a thing. Trust me. So the next one is some practice is better than no practice, meaning that if you don't really have the time or the energy on that particular day to do something towards building your new good habit and breaking your bad habit, just do something. So if your plan was originally, I'm going to walk for an hour every day. I'm going to get 15,000 steps in a day, but you just don't have the time or energy that day, at least do it for a little bit. Just don't not do it. Do it as much as you can, as long as you're comfortable. And then on the next day, you got to get right back after it, because you don't want that habit to turn into the new bad habit where you're just half-assing it, you know? You don't want to half-ass the habit changing. Another thing is to tell somebody that you're starting a new habit, because doing that creates accountability. A lot of times somebody needs accountability to continue on the path of change. I know I have a home gym. I have all the stuff I need at home. I do not need any motivation to go to the gym, but I know a lot of people who have a gym membership just because they know they're paying for it, so that'll get their ass to the gym. I don't need that. I've needed it before, but I don't need it anymore. I like working out that much, and because I'm so cool. Did you see the glasses? So what's the next step? The next step is to track your habit. So this is something I do often when I'm going through either like a bulking phase or I'm trying to put on mass and build muscle, or a cut phase. I definitely track my calories. So this can be for anything. Track it. Track everything you do. Keep a journal, a calendar, a spreadsheet, or anything like that to record your new habits each time you do it. See the trends. See, I seem to always miss doing this new activity that I've been desperately trying to implement in my routine. I seem to not be doing it as much at this time on this day. So then you can maybe adjust it, or you can just make sure you do it at that time on that day and just break through, because persistence is key. Persistence is key. Moving forward is key. And the last thing is to celebrate your successes. Healthy habits, changing bad habits into good habits, it has long-term benefits. but they do take time to kick in because it's the opposite of instant gratification. It's the opposite of instant gratification. So while you're waiting for these, you can give yourself small, short-term rewards every time you get to a new level. You know, every time you level up a little bit, get closer to that end goal, give yourself a little reward. Treat yourself, as Tom Haverford would say. Treat yourself. Just make sure that this little reward does not contradict your goals. Make sure you don't get to a point where you're like, all right, well, that's good enough, because it's not. What's good enough is when you get to where you wanted to go. So that's what I got for you guys today. That's pretty much all I got. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for following me. We got content coming out. Like I said, I got a lot of stuff in the works. I got some partnerships in the works behind the scenes. I feel like it's like everyone's probably like, what? Prove it. Everyone's probably like, prove it. But rest assured, we're doing big things at Mill P Writes. We're doing big things with This One's For. We got the job Pete still behind the scenes. He's better get his ass back here next week because I still haven't heard Jobby say a word. I think he's mute. I don't even know if he's a living thing. I think he's just a giant statue with a Pete face pasted on it, but I don't know. I could be wrong. I don't judge people. I don't judge the book by its cover unless it's Demons Within, which has a sick cover, so it's a fucking awesome book. You is ja.